Round the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. In the year 1872, the house, number 7 Savile Row, Burlington Gardens, the house in which Sheridan died in 1814, was inhabited by Phileas Fogg, Esquire, one of the most singular and most noticed members of the Reform Club of London, although he seemed to take care to do nothing which might attract attention. This Phileas Fogg, then, an enigmatic personage of whom nothing was known but that he was a very polite man, and one of the most perfect gentlemen of good English society, succeeded one of the great orators that honour England. An Englishman Phileas Fogg was, surely, but perhaps not a Londoner. This gentleman did not figure in any public body. His name had never sounded in any Inns of Court, nor in the Temple, nor Lincoln's Inn, nor Gray's Inn. He never pleaded in the Court of Chancery, nor the Queen's Bench, nor the Exchequer, nor the ecclesiastical courts. He was not a member of the Royal Institution of Great Britain, or the London Institution, or the Artisans' Association, or the Russell Institution, or the Literary Institution of the West, or the Law Institute, or that Institute of the Arts and Sciences placed under the direct patronage of Her Gracious Majesty. In fact, he belonged to none of the numerous societies that swarm in the capital of England, from the Harmonic to the Entomological Society, founded principally for the purpose of destroying hurtful insects. Phileas Fogg was a member of the Reform Club, and that was all. Was this Phileas Fogg rich? Undoubtedly, but the best informed could not say how he had made his money. He was by no means extravagant in anything, neither was he avaricious, for when money was needed for a noble purpose he gave it quietly, and even anonymously. He talked as little as possible, and seemed much more mysterious than silent. His life was open to the light, but what he did was always so mathematically the same thing that the imagination, unsatisfied, sought further. Had he travelled? It was probable, for none knew the world better than he. There was no spot so secluded that he did not appear to have a special acquaintance with it. One thing was certain, however, that for many years Phileas Fogg had not been from London. Those who had the honour of knowing him more intimately than others affirmed that no one could pretend to have seen him elsewhere than upon the direct route which he traversed every day to go from his house to the club. Phileas Fogg was not known to have either wife or children. Phileas Fogg lived alone in his house in Savile Row, where nobody entered. There was never a question as to its interior. A single servant sufficed to serve him. Breakfasting and dining at the club, at hours fixed with the utmost exactness, he returned home only to go to bed exactly at midnight. This very day, the 2nd of October, Phileas Fogg had dismissed James Forster, this youth having incurred his displeasure by bringing him shaving water at 84 degrees Fahrenheit instead of 86, and he was waiting for his successor. At this moment there was a knock at the door of the small parlour in which was Phileas Fogg. James Forster, the dismissed servant, appeared. "The new servant," said he. A young man, aged 30 years, came forward and bowed. "You are a Frenchman, and your name is John?" Phileas Fogg asked the new man. "Jean, if it does not displease monsieur," replied the newcomer. "Jean Passepartout, a surname which has clung to me and which my natural aptitude for withdrawing from a business has justified. I have had several trades. I have been a travelling singer, a circus rider, then I became a professor of gymnastics, and in the last place I was a sergeant fireman at Paris. But 5 years have passed since I left France, and wishing to have a taste of family life, I have been a valet in England. Now, finding myself out of a situation, and having learned that Monsieur Phileas Fogg was the most exact and the most settled gentleman in the United Kingdom, I have presented myself to Monsieur with the hope of living tranquilly with him." "You are recommended to me," replied the gentleman. "I have good reports concerning you. You know my conditions?"
"Oh, yes, sir."
"Well, what time have you?"
22 minutes after 11,
replied Passepartout, drawing from the depths of his pocket an enormous silver watch. "You are slow," said Mr. Fogg.
Pardon me, monsieur, but it is impossible."
"You are 4 minutes too slow."
It does not matter. It suffices to state the difference. Then, from this moment, 29 minutes after 11 o'clock a.m., this Wednesday, October the 2nd, 1872, you are in my service." That said, Phileas Fogg rose, took his hat in his left hand, placed it upon his head with an automatic movement, and disappeared without another word. "Upon my word," said Passepartout to himself, "I have known at Madame Tussaud's good people."